back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. In this episode, we're going to cover the non-battle part of battle, the non-battle part of the campaign, campaign strategy, and in particular, managing your noble units. Not just your own within your clan, but those that are but still under your kingdom's sway, right? Everybody knows that you can have companions join your kingdom. You can give them a fief, and they will march around on the field and do sometimes good things, sometimes not so good things, right? The movement of these troops is somewhat random, and it can be maddening how easily they get captured and how often they get captured. At times, I talk about Castor, this fucking dipshit here, 4 foot tall, trying to Mac Daddy his haircut. This guy goes out there, and I don't think he wins half his battles. I think he wins 5% of his battles, and so frequently what I'll actually do is disband his army when he calls a bunch of troops to him. I'm actually waiting for this guy to die, but he hangs on there and continues to kind of drive our kingdom into the mountain, right? He's a fucking total dipshit. That said, ordinarily you don't think that you have a lot of control over your nobles, right? They will form armies and do dipshit things like attack enemies they have no chance of defeating, or trying to siege a castle right next to a location where there's a huge enemy force and immediately get captured. So most people don't really think there's a lot you can do for them, and that is an unfortunate element of the game, right? You don't have a lot of control. I understand there's some mods where you have a little bit more control, but without mods in vanilla Bannerlord, which a lot of you are probably playing, it can be maddening to see your stacked armies of companions go out there and just get massacred because they have a dipshit for a leader. Now, what are some things you can do? This is something I've talked about before in other episodes. You have these clans, and they have influence. Now, they will not form a large army until they have influence. So the first thing you can do is you can actually give them influence, right? This is a critical thing to do. I don't know why this one clan has this many influence. Obviously, they have 10 times as much as me, even though I'm winning a battle every single day. I would assume this is some kind of bug. But you can see most of my clans have kind of a normal amount of influence, 1,000 influence, and it costs influence to manage an army, right? They have to have influence to run around the field, just like you have influence to call and maintain an army at your side. So what I actually do, since I have so much influence, is I actually give influence to these other clans. This is the clan I want to talk about today. This gal is actually a sister of one of my original characters. She's an old wise gal, and she has a pretty decent rate of success when she's in charge of an army. So what I will frequently do is I will actually come in here and support her with a bunch of influence. Now you see it increases the relation. Of course, all my nobles already love me because I give them money, I give them fiefs, and I give them support like this so often, so that influence number goes up. The net effect of this is my influence goes down, but hers goes up, and that allows her to maintain an army, right? This is vital. The next thing I do with nobles like this is I will give them fiefs. Now I have all these fiefs, right? I've got my capital here, Epicrucia, and then I have a variety of different fiefs. Well, I finally decided that I want to start giving fiefs out again. And I don't generally give out fiefs when I'm in times of duress, because a lot of times what happens is they don't defend it well enough and down it goes, right? They empty the garrison, and the next thing you know, you're fucked. You lose that city. The enemy's invading your territory, and things go badly. In this case, not only does this city have a nice garrison, but it's generating a lot of income, right? There's a garrison of 300 troops there. There's a nice big militia. And I'll give you another reason. I'll show you another reason after I give it to her, right? So we gift this clan that fief. Here's the other reason I'm giving them that fief. It is tucked in here, right? There's another castle that I've given to one of my other lower level units. And she now owns this this place, right? It's got a nice big militia. It's hard to get to as well. The enemy's got to go all the way through here just to get to it, which means that they're going to have a hard time maintaining their influence on any kind of attacking force on this city, right? That's part of the reason I'm giving that fief to this gal in the campaign. Now I can seize it back later on simply by going into the menus there and saying, hey, we need to vote on a new owner of this, and of course then you can select yourself as the owner. But in this case, the main reason I'm doing it is because of the troops. Now she already has a decent sized army. When I go over here and I say donate troops, you can look at their army and you can say, geez, this bitch is dumb. And maybe that's a little harsh, but she's running around with a huge amount of recruits and extremely low level troops. This is another aspect of the game where you can influence these characters. So I just gathered up this huge force of my companions and other army members that are running around, and now what I'm actually going to try to do is two things. First, you need money to be able to effectively command a large army like that. So, and I've already done this before, but I'll basically show you. You go into this little dialogue screen and say, hey, there's something I'd like to discuss. Now, she has 3 million gold, right? So she has all the money she needs to command an army. But let's just go in here and give some of our vast wealth to this gal here. Here, we'll give her another million dinars, right? We print dinars practically with how many battles we win. Every battle, we basically, win like 100 or 200,000 worth of equipment. We gift her that. She's now rich, even more rich than before. And what that'll allow her to do is command a large, powerful army of expensive troops. Now, we already said her troops suck, right? When we go in here, she's got all kinds of peasants, recruits, and warriors. But here's what we could do. I went to my capital here. I stockpile good-looking troops here. And I can go in and tell her, you know what? Your troops suck. Let's give you some frontline troops. Let's give you some Battanian Fiend champs. Let's give you some elite cataphract. Let's give you some more Battanian Fiends here. And we're going to effectively try to max out her army, right? She's got a good-sized army, but if there's a bunch of scrubs in her army, obviously when she forms an army later on, things are not going to go well. Similarly, I will go to some of the other troops that potentially she's going to recruit into her army, and I will go, you know what, guys? It's your lucky day. I'm going to give you a big tranche of elite archers, right? We're going to give you some elite archers. We're going to give you some wildlings. We're going to give you a bunch of troops, basically, to help these people out there have a better chance of success, right? And, of course, I am weakening my own army. But if you notice at the top, right, we don't even have the capacity to hold all these troops. When I went to Epicrotia, obviously I went well beyond the limit of what you're capable of holding within the army, and I did that so that I could do precisely what I'm doing right now, right? I'm hoping she calls that guy to her army, right? I'm going to go in here to a few more of these other ones and basically take their ghetto army with recruits and woodmen. I mean, no wonder they fucking lose, right? They're running around with a bunch of peasants. We can take these weak armies and say, you know what? Your army just got upgraded. Suddenly you have a bunch of elite troops. And remember, the enemy armies out there are not doing this, right? They are running around with scrub armies just like this. It's basically the same system, controls both of them. Now, I do run mods that makes the enemy armies upgrade faster, so they actually will have better units than this. But in this instance, if you were playing vanilla Bannerlord, if you do this to your troops like I'm doing this, if you do this to your forces, those armies, those groups, of armies that are now joining, hopefully either Vara or one of my other leaders, they will have a much, much better chance of actually successfully winning battles now than they did before, right? They will have all of these powerful units, and they will be able to, withstand much greater forces and have much better success than they would if you hadn't have dumped all these great units on their roster, right, onto their team. You could think of it kind of like stacking a Little League team, how they fucking gather the best players from all the different areas and stack them all into the same one. That's effectively what we're doing here. We're saying you don't get to go into battle with a bunch of peasants. Here's another example. She's got some elite troops, actually. But most of them, somewhere in their line here, they've got a bunch of recruits. Actually, she's got a pretty good-looking army, and I've probably given her troops before. All that said, right, so we've done that with Vara now. What I want is for her to form a very large army, right? I want her to form an army because I'm going to go down and basically lead an attack into this part of the map. You can't be in two places. So what you want in this game optimally is to be able effectively to divide your forces so that they're both strong enough to be able to take care of the mission that they have, right? So I'm going to disband my entire army, and it probably won't happen right away. Usually these things take a little bit of time. But now what I'm hoping is that she comes back As soon as she's released, of course, I've now given her a fief. She has lots of influence to gather a big army. And now, of course, there's plenty of armies out there that have very good-looking troops for her to pull from, for her to hopefully successfully mount an attack and a counterattack going the other way. So I'm not going to sit here and make you wait. Well, okay, so she did it right away. She's creating an army, and look how big it is, right? Part of the reason it's big is because I just gave this gal a bunch of influence, right? Actually, it's confusing. She's marching the exact same way I am, so it actually looked like I was gathering an army. Now look at the size of the army she's just gathered. And now let's look at the troops. Look at the troops that are in her army. So I'm holding down the Alt button to give you an idea. Look at all the elite troops. Now those guys are going to pop out right away in battle when she fights somebody else, because that's how the game works, right? It starts battles. The AI automatically starts with their best troops in battle. Now some of these troops I gave to these units, right? Not just in today's episode, but in previous episodes. And what I'm doing effectively is subsidizing my dipshit nobles, right? That way they can actually march around the battlefield and do positive things where they would not have been able to do them without my help. Meanwhile, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, okay, all of the armies that she didn't take, I'll take the scraps. I'll take these 800 guys. I'm going to go into the south and make a foray with these 800 guys. She can have the larger army because, frankly, tactically, I can win battles. Okay, and speak of the devil, we're already besieged up there. So let's run an experiment. I don't know what force is attacking here at Mazadon Castle, and I could theoretically lose this castle, but let's let her defend that, and I'm going to head to the south, and here's what I'm going to do, just as an experiment. Before I started this episode, I actually saved the game. It dawns on me now that I can actually run this experiment and basically sort of go back in time. We will send her up there with weaker troops. In other words, I won't donate the troops that I did the previous time. I'll keep them to myself, head south here, and we'll see if there's any different result in all this, right? We'll see basically if there's a tangible effect to doing this right away. So we just got our daily gold change there. For some reason I had fucking dipshit armies up here and they don't have a name for some reason. It's blank. Not quite certain what that's about. But they're up there attacking and they just got attacked. They're fucked. That was a companion up there that looks like they were trying to siege on their own. You're still going to get companions that do dipshit stuff. In fact, she's sitting there probably waiting for army members to come to her location. This says gathering near Stathamos. But I'm going to head to the south. I'm not going to create a very long episode here. I'll probably do a little bit of editing just to connect these different pieces. But after... Well, I don't even actually know if she's going to go to Mazadon Castle. I'm hoping she goes and defends here. That's logical because she's right there and it's under siege right there. She's got a large force. It's highly probable that she goes and defends that. If she does that, what I'm hoping to do is reload this save game and then not give those units to her, right? Not give her elite units, and we'll see if there's any difference. There may not be. This actually might be basically an experiment where I'm proven it's irrelevant, but I do think it's relevant. The fact that I gave this army a bunch of elite troops and now she's got a much better chance of success out there, right? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand if you give an army 150 or 200 elite troops, they're going to have a much higher chance of success. Now, the other thing that'll be interesting is I'm not going to give her influence when I reload the save game. It'll be interesting to see, okay, we got another... This is just our campaign, folks. We're under permanent attack here. It'll be interesting to see if she even gathers such a big army. I mean, she has a gigantic army that she's gathering. That alone is unusual, and partly that can be explained because I'm supporting these nobles' influence. So I'm going to do a little editing here. We'll come back and I'll kind of let you know the results. Of course, I'll record throughout this whole thing. I'm just not going to keep you waiting what might be several minutes or even like an hour before shit happens. All right, so I've actually changed my mind in this process. Even though I have a castle down here that's under siege, it has a massive defense force, and I'm still going to reload this game. So this is a bit of an experiment. I'm not actually considering these results sort of permanent in my campaign. Most of the time I don't do this. I don't what are the young guys, you call this save scumming, I guess. That's a pretty nasty term. So we're having fun here. We're doing a little bit of experiment. I'm going to ignore the fact that this castle's under siege. Now it might actually be able to hold out for a long time with that many defenders, but what I want to do is I want to go see what's going to happen here. She is heading north towards this castle that's under siege. Of course, this just happened. This fucking dipshit Castor was apparently amongst some of our forces that were up there trying to siege a castle, and of course they got smoked by the Khazaits. Nobody's surprised about that, right? Fucking this Castor motherfucker. Right, we can add this to it. Taken prisoner. I mean, this guy's just a fucking disgrace. If we lose this campaign, I'm going to personally blame this guy. There's just no question that his ineptitude is like legioned at this stage. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. What I'm trying to do here, it does look like she's heading straight to Macedon Castle to defend, and we're kind of going to eavesdrop and look over her shoulder, and then I'm going to reload the game and effectively run an experiment and see if she does the same activity. Generally, the AI acts in a predictable manner, so it's probable. Laguna's party. Okay, that means she's defending there, right? She's now in combat at Macedon Castle, and so we're effectively going to be, I'm not actually going to join the fight. I just want to see if I can see, hopefully I can get there before the battle is resolved, but I think we're going to be able to get there hopefully before the castle falls, and we'll be able to see if her force is large enough to defeat whatever force is there. Now, I think it's going to be, it's not a spoiler, she had a very large force. Okay, 11. There's a Battanian force there that she's going to smoke. So I guess she might be successful no matter what, even if, well, there's 2 Battanian forces. So obviously she's going to be successful here, right? She's going to be able to pound down this Battanian force and clearly be successful. And again, part of the reason I would say that is because look at the quality of troops in there, right? She's got some really high-level troops. So this is a good example of at least helping a companion to success, right? There's no question she's going to win here. She's going to wrap up this battle. And what we've done is help her win here, right? In this example. Now I'm going to reload this game. I'll save you some of the editing. I won't waste your time with this. I'll try to make it kind of fast and smooth. But this time we're going to effectively see it. The exact same thing happens, only she'll have a smaller army because we're not subsidizing it, right? This is, again, a little experiment to see how much you can influence battle with your nobles. It's possible she'll still win, and I may still share this as a YouTube video just because I think there are some nuggets here that are useful. And of course, if she doesn't win, I think it'll be definitive evidence that subsidizing your nobles is a critical part of the game. So we'll give this another shot. I've reloaded the save game and I've spared you some of the slow, tedious details, but I basically dumped those extra troops back on Epicrotia. I'm going to disband my army here. We're basically going to do all of the same processes that we did in that first one, with just obviously some exceptions here. Okay, perfect. She's forming an army. Now, what's different about this run? Well, I didn't give her Revel, right? In the first episode, I gave her that city, so she doesn't have the money, the revenue, the income, and the resources from that city. And I want to gather up all the scraps that she doesn't recruit. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but in this beta version, I've got some of my companions have no name. They're just like a blank. It's like a blank palette over their head. Okay, so actually one thing I can see right away is different here. So Macedon Castle, good. Macedon Castle's besieged. I'm basically, again, we're trying to create an experiment where all of the variables are identical. But here, notice something different already. Her army size is smaller. Nothing is different except I didn't give the troops that she gathered. I didn't give them a bunch of elite units, right? So she has weaker units in her army, but she also has a smaller army, and that's because I didn't give her all of that influence. She doesn't have the resources, the gold. She doesn't have the keep. there are a bunch of things that are obviously different in this second run, and so right away you notice her army size is smaller. So she's already sort of handicapped. This would be vanilla Bannerlord. The previous one you can sort of think of it as your companions on steroids. So she's going to gather an army here. I'm not gonna waste your time with all the details. We'll come back. When hopefully, I don't know for sure, but hopefully she goes up there and actually tries to defend Mazadon Castle. And again, we'll try to observe the results. Sat there for a strange amount of time, and I'm hoping she doesn't divert off to Legetta. Sometimes the AI does do random things. I've seen it do different things just in a save run, just in a slight variance like that. But it does appear that she's heading back up again to Mazadon Castle. So we'll speed our way up there. Varagos. Right, so all the same things are happening. Basically, once the AI is in motion, it's fairly predictable. It's going to do the same thing in each save run here. This experiment here, all the variables need to be the same for this to have any validity, with one exception, right? I want her to not be subsidized. What the fuck just happened there? Oh, this happened the first run and I didn't have the pleasure of showing you. Of course, Castor, this fucking troglodyte that I told you about in the first episode, of course he's part of a calamitous loss for our campaign. I think they were up there and they got mauled by the Khazaits. Yeah, that guy. I mean, what a fucking catastrophe. If you could execute your own nobles, I would have been sharpening my executioner's axe already. Okay, wait, so I wanted to spectate here. Let's see what the Battanian force is. The garrison's got 133 troops. She's going in with a smaller army this time, right? The first time she had an army of like 1,800. So we want to spectate. We're trying to get close here. I don't have any scouting range because it's nighttime. Let's see what we got here. So the Battanians have 7, 11. They have like 1,300 troops, and she has 900. And we're just going to sit here and spectate. This is effectively the same as the very first battle, with the big differences, right? What's the difference here? She's not subsidized. She's fighting in this army without a bunch of elite troops because I didn't give them to the armies that she gathered for her army. She also has a smaller army. In the first episode, I'll have to go back and look. I'm just doing these episodes sort of one after another, but she didn't have as large an army. I want to say her army was over 1,800 in the first run, right? So empirically, what we've decided already, or what we've discovered, is that if you give influence to your parties, to your clan leaders, they're much more likely to carry a large force into battle, right? Here you can see she's got 250 against about 450, right? So she's starting to get outnumbered. It's starting to look like the battle is tenuous. We'll see if anybody joins here, and we'll see if she actually wins. Now, the first time, I want to say she had 1,000 troops when the battle was over. This second time, it looks like if she does win, it's going to be by a razor-thin margin. It does look like she's going to lose. And so what we kind of learned from this is empirically, at least in this episode, at least in an episode, this little test tube with as few variables as possible, she's captured all of those units, all of those troops are captured. This is a perfect example of the differences in the first, and feel free to watch it again. The first clip of this, I'm going to attach all these videos, right? Snip them all together with my editing tool. The first one, we gave her a city, we gave her gold, we gave her troops, and then we gave some of the armies that she gathered to her army better troops, which obviously all logically makes sense that she would have more success with that army. She had a smaller army because she didn't have the extra influence that we gave to her clan. And look at the difference, right? Without it, she's defeated. In the first episode, she destroyed this Battanian force, had 1,000 troops left, I think. And of course, there's a huge difference between the two, which brings me to a key point, especially newer players to the game. The numero uno, and I want to say numero uno, number one, if you don't speak Spanish, the number one most important thing in the game, in Bannerlord, forget all the tactics and all the other nonsense, is is winning the vast majority of your battles. If you are not winning the vast majority of your battles, there's many consequences to that. Obviously, you're not getting all the experience for it. You're not getting all the gold, the loot. You have to rebuild your whole fucking army. All your troops are captured. You might be able to get some of them back if you're able to attack those lords and sort of free up those prisoners. But in many cases, you lose all those troops, right? They end up in dungeons or they get killed. All of your guys have to be ransomed. It takes time. It takes weeks in my case because I have so many companions. And not only that, but the enemy gets stronger, right? They get the loot. They go to the, I don't know for sure if that's how it works, but I think the AI then runs to their local town and sells all your loot. I do know that they can actually wear your equipment. I've seen fucking enemy lords running around with some of the custom weapons from my grandfather's smith, because we lost a battle and they captured us, right? So there's massive repercussions to losing a battle and enormous rewards for winning a battle. What am I trying to say here? Just what I just said. The most important thing in this game is to win the overwhelming majority of your battles. Well, that goes the same thing for your companion armies, for your clan member armies. Because Vara in this second example is captured, the enemy gets stronger. This castle falls, right? It says 0. There's just a militia there, right? So this Battanian force is going to take down that castle. Vara is captured. I probably, in normal circumstances, wouldn't be able to free her. It's basically a disaster. Whereas in the first run, we gave her troops, we gave her money, we gave her influence. You get the point. I think I've beaten this point to death. I don't like beating horses to death. That seems pretty savage. We'll just finish, though, by saying that you can clearly see the benefit to giving your companions, giving your clan leaders money, a keep, resources, and influence. And this can make a dramatic impact in your own campaign, right? If you're in the middle stages of a campaign and you're having a hard time and your dipshit clan leaders are out there getting slaughtered left and right, you're not going to have as much money as I do, of course, because I'm very, very deep into the campaign. But try to give them a little influence. If you've got a little bit of influence and they have none, and you're wondering why your clan leaders aren't recruiting large armies, that's probably why. If they have ghetto troops and a bunch of fucking recruits and just get smashed every time they go into battle, they need money, right? If you've got plenty of money, share some of your money with them. You can even give them equipment. In some cases, I've given equipment to the lords, and the next time I saw them, they're running around with this cool looking armor that I gave them, right? It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it'll just rot in their equipment inventory. But the critical point to all this is that you do have a dramatic impact on your clan leaders, and there are 3 or 4 different levers, so to speak, that you can pull to give them more success in Bannerlord. So hopefully that's helpful to folks out there playing a campaign. Of course, I'm in my deathmatch campaign. It's very, very difficult. I've turned over every rock and looked under every leaf for these kind of little tiny tips and tricks that help me sustain against the whole fucking map, right? We're fighting everybody. That's the way I want it. I want an extreme challenge. I want to be Neo fighting the 200 agents in the courtyard. It's good stuff. And hopefully this wisdom that I've gleaned from the game, hopefully I can just transmute it to you in just a handful of episodes. So thanks for watching, friends. I appreciate all the comments, all the subscriptions. You guys are great. It drives people to the channel. Channel's not monetized. I'm not trying to make money in this. I'm a near retired firefighter. I'm just having a good time with this. So if there's any ads, I apologize. Those ads are from Google. I fucking despise long video ads right in the middle of my video, and hopefully all of my videos are ad-free. So thanks again for watching, fellas, and I will talk to you guys next time.